podcast where truth moves faster than a Holstein calf. No waiting on some pretty page. We're charting new ground in the digital age. From genomic codes to worldwide facts, we cut through the noise, no holding back. Not your daddy's dairy news tonight. We're sparking debates with every insight. The ring's not where the real fight's at. It's in the data, in the channel chat. From pasture to processor to your morning cup, we're raising the stakes. Try and get ahead of herd. Yeah! Where the future's more than just a word. Ahead of herd. Come on! The bullvine's calling, let your voice be heard.
Welcome to the Bullvine Podcast, where we challenge conventional dairy wisdom and deliver the hard truths your operation needs to thrive. I'm your host, bringing you the fearless analysis that's made the Bullvine the dairy industry's most trusted source for progressive insights. Today's episode will fundamentally change how you think about dairy biosecurity. We're diving deep into groundbreaking research from the Journal of Dairy Science that exposes a shocking reality: the enhanced biosecurity protocols your operation has been following. They failed catastrophically when faced with H5N1. That's right. 970-plus dairy farms across 17 states implemented enhanced biosecurity measures and still contracted H5N1, losing an average of $950 per clinically affected cow. We're talking about the biggest infectious disease outbreak to hit the U.S. dairy sector since foot and mouth disease in 1929, and everything the industry told you about protection was wrong. This isn't just another industry update. This is a complete demolition of decades of conventional biosecurity wisdom. We'll reveal why your milking parlor has become ground zero for viral transmission, expose the worker protection scandal that's endangering lives, and provide the science-based solutions that actually work. If you're ready to stop trusting failed biosecurity myths and start protecting your operation with evidence-based strategies, this episode is essential listening. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We unpack the research, the stories, the things really reshaping agriculture.
That's right.
And today, we're diving into something that's caused a lot of concern. Frankly, a lot of tough questions in the dairy world.
H5N1.
Exactly, the H5N1 crisis. And look, this isn't just, another animal health blip.
No, not at all.
It's really forcing us, dairy producers, industry folks, everyone, to rethink what we thought we knew about protecting herds, protecting people, our livelihoods. It's a wake-up call.
A big one.
And we're here to help you navigate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So our focus today, it's a really critical document, a Bullvine article, and it pulls no punches.
It certainly doesn't mince words.
It's titled H5N1 in Dairy, Science-Backed Biosecurity for Resilient Operations. And this isn't just a quick summary, right?
No, definitely not. It goes deep. Peer-reviewed research, real-world stuff.
Yeah, the insights are, frankly, pretty revolutionary for how we manage dairy operations.
They challenge a lot of old assumptions.
So our mission here is clear. We're going to dissect every key finding from this Bullvine article.
Piece by piece.
Give you, the dairy farmer, the industry pro, the most direct, actionable, potentially operation-saving insights.
That's the goal. Protect your farm, your people, your bottom line.
We're going way beyond just the headlines here, drilling down into the specifics that really matter.
Equipping you, not just to survive this, but maybe even lead through it.
Exactly. Lead in this new, challenging landscape.
And the urgency here, it just can't be overstated, can it?
No way.
This isn't just learning about a new bug. It's about a fundamental shift, a paradigm shift in how we have to approach biosecurity now.
Right.
The research in the Bullvine article, it shows that what a lot of us thought was good biosecurity, well, it might actually be dangerously outdated.
Dangerously obsolete, I think, is the term they used.
That's it. So this deep dive, it confronts what the article calls the biosecurity myth head on. It's a serious wake-up call. It asks us to, set aside maybe decades of ingrained habits and embrace new strategies. Strategies based on evidence, reflecting what this virus actually is.
Okay, let's jump right in then. Because the Bullvine article starts with this incredibly stark, almost provocative claim. It tells us, point blank, stop trusting enhanced biosecurity myths. It's bold right out of the gate.
Very bold, especially for an industry that, takes pride in its protocols.
So what's the core issue here? What's the research exposing that needs such a strong statement?
Well, what's really fascinating and maybe a bit unsettling is how directly the research challenges these long-held beliefs about farm safety, Yeah. It doesn't just hint at it. It flat out says much of what we assumed about dairy biosecurity wasn't just wrong, but dangerously obsolete.
Wow.
And the scale of the problem, it lays it bare with data. H5N1 has exposed these huge economic losses, estimated at $950 per clinically affected cow.
$950.
Per cow. Per affected cow. And maybe even more damning, the article cites that over 970 farms prove traditional protocols fail catastrophically.
Over 970 farms.
Think about that. Nearly 1,000 farms implementing what they believed were good, solid biosecurity measures. And they still got hit. This isn't just, a few bad stories. It's data-driven. It's basically an indictment of the conventional approach. Signals a massive need for change.
And to make that super real for everyone listening, the Bullvine article uses this scenario. It felt hypothetical reading it, but you're saying it's happened over and over.
Exactly. It's disturbingly common.
So imagine this. Tuesday morning, you walk into your, say, 2,400 cow operation. Herdsman's got that look on his face.
You know the look.
Milk production just dropped overnight from maybe 28,500 gallons down to 24,100. Just like that.
Right, gut punch.
Yeah, total gut punch. Then Wednesday, it gets worse. Maybe 20% of your milking string, 480 cows in this case showing signs, thick discolored milk.
Yep, classic sign.
And your bulk tank SCC, your somatic cell count, spiked. From a nice 150,000 maybe, up over 400,000 cells per mil.
At the roof.
It's not just a little dip. It's sudden, it's severe, it's widespread, hits animal health, hits your bottom line almost instantly.
And that exact scenario, just as you laid it out, it's not hypothetical at all.
That's the scary part.
The Bullvine article confirms this has played out on over 970 dairy farms across 17 states since H5N1 first jumped from wild birds to cattle in early 2024.
17 states. Wow.
And to really get the gravity, the historical weight of this, the article points out this is the first infectious disease of this magnitude, so widespread, so fast it hit U.S. dairies since foot and mouth back in 1929.
1929, that's generations.
Generations of farmers haven't faced anything like this, a pathogen spreading with this speed, this economic wallop.
Yeah.
It's an unprecedented challenge for our generation of producers. Makes you reevaluate every single defense on the farm.
So for decades, right, the industry has pushed enhanced biosecurity. We've all seen the checklists, done the training.
Boot washes, sign-in sheets.
Right. But the Bullvine article pulls back the curtain on what it calls the industry's dirty secret exposed by research.
Oof. Strong words again.
It claims, very explicitly, that many dairies who thought they were doing everything right, implementing these exact enhanced protocols, still got H5N1.
Still got it hit.
And it cites a Journal of Dairy Science study to back it. So the very measures we relied on, our main defense,
failed spectacularly.
Yeah, failed spectacularly against this specific crisis. It just raises this huge, uncomfortable question, doesn't it? What went wrong?
And it really does raise that important question. Why did these supposedly enhanced protocols fail so badly?
Yeah, why?
The Bullvine article shines a critical light here on what it calls a regulatory response scandal.
Okay.
It reveals that the official response to the outbreak varied a lot, depending on where you were geographically. And maybe worse, in some states, the animal and human health authorities, probably unintentionally, elevated producer fears of the consequences of reporting.
Oh boy. So instead of encouraging openness.
Right. Instead of fostering transparency, getting that crucial early info, it actually created the conditions for widespread underreporting.
That's the last thing you want.
Exactly. Imagine the challenge. If farmers are scared to report, the true scale stays hidden. You can't respond properly. You can't contain it effectively.
Creates dangerous delays.
Creates a dangerous environment where vital information just isn't flowing, which is precisely what you don't need in a fast-moving crisis like this.
And what really makes this H5N1 crisis different, fundamentally different from other animal diseases we've dealt with, as the Bullvine article points out, is its scary ability to jump species barriers so efficiently.
Unprecedented efficiency, yeah.
This isn't just cows getting sick. It's the real immediate risk to people.
Right on the farm.
The research confirmed, as of February 2025, 70 people infected. And 41 of those cases directly linked to cattle contact.
41. Directly linked.
Think about that. Almost 2/3 of the human cases traceable right back to interacting with infected dairy cows.
That's incredibly alarming. It just hammers home the human health risk. For workers, families, vets, every day on affected farms.
Absolutely.
And the implications of that species jump. They're profound. They go way beyond the cows.
Yeah.
It means your workforce, the folks milking, cleaning, caring for animals, your family, anyone working closely with the herd faces potential exposure.
Every day.
This isn't just about herd health or milk production anymore. It fundamentally impacts human health right there on your farm.
Adds a whole new layer of responsibility.
Very serious layer. And urgency to your biosecurity. It demands a truly holistic approach to farm safety now.
And the financial hit. I mean, the bovine article quantifies the bottom line impact in just stark, really unsettling terms.
The numbers are brutal.
Research documents economic losses of $950 per clinically affected cow.
$950 a head.
Multiply that out. It gets devastating fast. And for a typical 1,000 cow farm, the article estimates potential losses. Get this, $2.1 million in lost revenue during a 6-month quarantine.
$2.1 million.
In 6 months. Those aren't just spreadsheet numbers, right?
Mm.
That's the difference between staying afloat and potentially closing the doors for a lot of farms caught unprepared.
It's a direct assault on the economic viability of the industry.
Yeah.
Which leads us right to what the Bovine article calls the hard truth.
Okay, what's the hard truth?
The United States has failed in this dress rehearsal for pandemic preparedness.
Ouch. Failed the dress rehearsal.
And the first, most critical part of that failure, according to the research, a failure of dairy producers to report disease.
Wow.
This really raises an important question, doesn't it? About transparency, about trust within the industry, about our collective responsibility to tackle these things head on.
Because if you don't have accurate, timely reporting,
you can't grasp the scope, you can't implement effective controls, you can't protect the wider community. Lack of transparent data just cripples the response.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, for me anyway. The bovine article shifts focus right to the heart of the dairy farm, the milking parlor.
Ground zero.
Yeah, it digs into challenge #1, why your milking parlor is ground zero for transmission. And it describes a transmission discovery that destroys conventional wisdom.
That's a powerful phrase.
It is. So what is this bombshell finding? What changes everything about how we thought H5N1 spreads?
The bombshell, as the Bovine article reports it, it's a critical research finding, truly reshapes our understanding of H5N1 in dairy.
Okay.
Studies now confirm unequivocally that milking procedures in milk are the primary routes of H5N1 transmission between cattle, not respiratory spread.
Not respiratory. Milking in milk.
Right. This isn't just tweaking our understanding. It literally demolishes decades of assumptions about dairy disease control.
Decades.
Which for so long focused mainly on airborne stuff, right? Or strict visitor rules.
Yeah, worried about coughs, sneezes, visitors.
Exactly. But the research now points directly at the core activity, the milking process itself, as the main driver of spread on the farm.
Wow.
It fundamentally shifts our focus to where the real immediate danger actually lies, hiding in plain sight, you could say.
That is the uncomfortable truth the bovine article forces us to face, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
While we're all focused on air filters and boot dips for visitors, the real danger, the main vector, was right there in your milking parlor.
Every day.
Hiding in plain sight.
And the experimental studies cited are particularly stark. They show virus in unpasteurized milk can stay viable, infectious, for at least 1 hour on common parlor surfaces.
1 full hour.
Imagine that during milking. A splash, a drip, a contaminated glove, and that virus is live, ready to spread for 60 minutes or more.
That viability on surfaces just completely redefines what clean has to mean now in the context of H5N1.
Absolutely.
So given this huge game-changing discovery, the bovine article lays out a really practical priority action matrix. Okay, actionable steps.
Yeah, it breaks it down. What you need to do, starting now. For this week, it says non-negotiable. Milk clinical animals last.
Last. No exceptions.
No exceptions, it emphasizes. Isolate them. Milk them at the very end. Minimize that cross-contamination.
Makes sense.
Alongside that, immediate, vigorous, enhanced equipment sanitization. And that means checking your cleaners. Are they specifically effective against influenza viruses?
Not just any disinfectant.
Right. Then, moving into the next 30 days, the focus shifts. Establish dedicated worker protocols. People handling sick cows need distinct procedures, distinct gear maybe. Plus, comprehensive PPE compliance training. Not just handing out masks, but training on proper use. And start environmental sampling to see where the virus actually is in your facility.
Find the hotspots.
Exactly. Then, looking out 90-plus days, the plan suggests considering automated monitoring for early detection, maybe infrastructure modifications to the parlor for better biosecurity, and definitely vaccination planning as options become available.
So it's a phased approach, building resilience.
Right. Starting with the most critical, immediate changes first.
In this new understanding, it also helps explain something else the Bovine article highlights. Why mastitis control protocols failed catastrophically against H5N1.
Yeah, that was a big one.
It says the standard parlor wash cycles we've relied on for years, designed for bacteria after milking clinical cows. They just did not prevent virus dissemination to additional pens once on farm.
We were fighting the wrong enemy, essentially, or using the wrong weapons. Focused on bacteria, not this persistent virus on surfaces.
Exactly.
And the data in the Bovine article backs this up completely. Environmental sampling on affected farms found H5N1 viral RNA on 7% of tested surfaces.
7%. That sounds significant.
It is. And what's really revealing is where they found it. Most positives were on milking equipment and parlor surfaces, pulsators, claws, pipelines.
Stuff touching the cows and the milk.
Directly. It's concrete evidence. Your parlor isn't just where you harvest milk. It's an environment where these persistent viruses can unfortunately spread like wildfire if your cleaning protocols aren't dramatically enhanced.
So the old routine wasn't just inadequate, it might have been helping spread it.
Inadvertently, yes. That seems to be the implication.
And then to make things even more complicated for producers, the Bovine article talks about the subclinical crisis.
Ah, yes, the silent spreaders.
Exactly. Many infected animals, maybe most in some herds, show no obvious clinical signs at all. But they're actively shedding virus in their milk, potentially on surfaces.
Right.
Which means your normal observation-based protocols looking for milk drop, funny-looking milk, they become almost useless against a silent spreader like H5N1.
You can't see the enemy, but it's marching through your herd.
Precisely.
And to hammer that point home about the difficulty of just seeing it, the Bovine article specifically states viral RNA has been found in samples from non-clinical animals.
So healthy-looking cows.
Your perfectly healthy-looking cows, no outward signs, normal production, seem fine. They might still be sources of transmission. Shedding virus in milk onto equipment during routine milking.
Wow.
This really raises an important question, doesn't it? About relying only on visual cues, traditional checks. Highlights the urgent need for more proactive, maybe diagnostic testing, even in apparently healthy animals.
Okay. So we've covered the parlor, the animals, but what about the people? The folks who are the absolute backbone of our dairy operations.
Crucial element.
The Bovine article moves right into challenge #2, the worker protection scandal that's endangering lives. Again, doesn't hold back.
No, it doesn't.
What's the reality it reveals about PPE compliance? Why is it so alarming?
Well, what's really fascinating and frankly deeply concerning about the PPE compliance research in the Bovine article is just how stark the reality is.
Go.
It found N95 respirator use was only 26% among workers exposed to ill cows after H5N1 was detected on the farm.
26%, less than a third.
Less than a third using basic respiratory protection after they knew the virus was there. But maybe even more alarming.
Go on.
Even after virus confirmation on farms, PPE use increased by only an average of 28%.
So even knowing didn't make a huge difference.
Not nearly enough. It's not just a gap. It's a massive, dangerous failure in protection. Leaves workers vulnerable, increases risk of spread.
Begs the question, why?
Exactly. Why isn't this fundamental protection being used more effectively?
And the human cost of these failures. It's not theoretical. The Bovine article documents it.
Tragically, yeah.
A cross-sectional study. 115 dairy workers found 8 individuals had serologic evidence of recent H5N1 infection. Blood tests showed they'd had it.
8 people.
And here's the kicker. Every single one of those 8 reported milking cows or cleaning milking parlors.
Directly ties the risk to the job.
Right to the core tasks. Milking, cleaning the parlor. It shows the danger isn't abstract. It's a direct occupational hazard for those hands-on workers.
And if we connect that to the bigger picture, the Bovine article unpacks what it calls the industry's exploitation problem documented by research.
Exploitation problem.
It highlights these systemic issues creating huge vulnerability, like fear of retribution and immigration status concerns, making workers reluctant to seek medical help.
Afraid they'll lose their job, or worse.
Exactly. Add to that, more than 50% of dairy workers are immigrants with limited English proficiency. Creates huge language barriers.
Communication breakdown.
These things, combined with those immigration fears, they tragically create dangerous reporting gaps. And what's fascinating, in a grim way, is how these deep-rooted systemic issues aren't just hurting the workers themselves. They're undermining the biosecurity of the whole operation, posing a broader public health risk. It's a complex ethical and practical challenge. Needs immediate attention.
So, recognizing these critical life-threatening issues, the bovine article doesn't just point fingers, it outlines critical worker protection actions. Things farms need to implement now.
Real solutions.
Yeah, like establishing no-fault illness reporting policies, so workers feel genuinely safe coming forward, no fear of repercussions.
Builds trust. Crucial.
And going beyond just having PPE, you need to provide complete PPE packages with comprehensive training. Ensure proper use, maintenance, disposal.
The whole system.
Daily health screenings are vital for those key symptoms documented in human cases. Conjunctivitis, eye infections in 93% of cases. Fever in 49%, respiratory symptoms in 36%.
Screen for the known signs.
And finally, building strong partnerships with local healthcare providers, making sure workers have confidential, accessible ways to get medical help, breaking down those barriers of fear and language.
Absolutely essential.
Yeah.
And beyond the immediate physical risks, the bovine article also bravely tackles something often hidden, the mental health crisis hidden by the industry. Performing euthanasia on animals you care for, handling dead animals constantly during a big outbreak, the emotional toll is immense.
Yeah.
And the article notes some workers even blame themselves for the disease spread between cows and cats, carrying this huge psychological weight.
That's heartbreaking.
It is, and it's a crucial, often overlooked part of the crisis. Needs compassionate, proactive support from management. The human impact goes way beyond just physical symptoms.
Okay, moving on to challenge. #3, the wildlife problem the industry refuses to address. This is fascinating. A vulnerability maybe many of us haven't fully grasped.
The uninvited guests.
Yeah. The bovine article highlights the paradomestic bird reality that modern agriculture created. What specifics do we need to understand about these birds?
Well, the article details this really concerning paradomestic bird reality poses a huge biosecurity risk. Between April and December 2024, H5N1 was found in 212 paradomestic birds across affected dairies.
212 birds.
And not just any birds. The research specifically points to European starlings, house sparrows, and rock pigeons as primary vectors.
The usual suspects around the farm.
Exactly. Your common barn birds, feedlot birds. And crucially, the article makes a very important legal point. These specific species, they are not protected under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act.
So you can manage them more easily.
You have more options, fewer legal restrictions for controlling their presence on your farm. That's a key takeaway for proactive control.
And here's the part the industry might not want to shout about, according to the bovine article. Research out of Washington State found this direct, positive correlation between large paradomestic bird populations specifically, over 10,000 birds and herd size.
So bigger farms attract more birds?
It strongly suggests that. Larger operations with all that feed, open structures, constant activity, they're basically creating ideal habitats for these vector species.
Building a 5-star resort for birds that can carry the virus right to your cows.
Pretty much.
And if you connect that to farm design, the bovine article explains the infrastructure problem.
Okay.
It highlights this critical, often unintended consequence of how modern dairy farming evolved.
How so?
The article points out the transition from grazing to confined housing, and at the same time, the transition from enclosed upright silos to open storage systems like bunkers or piles.
Right, for efficiency.
Exactly. Drove down storage costs, improved feeding efficiency for the herd, but it also made foraging easier for birds, created easily accessible buffets.
Unintended consequence.
Totally. So your modern, efficient dairy infrastructure designed for productivity is also, paradoxically, attracting the very species spreading H5N1 onto your farm.
Wow. Needs a strategic solution beyond just fences.
Definitely.
And it's not just birds, right? We have other uninvited guests.
Unfortunately, yes.
The bovine article introduces the mammalian vector reality. USDA Wildlife Services found 150 detections of H5N1 virus in 9 different synanthropic mammalian species between March and November 2024.
Synanthropic meaning they live alongside us.
Right. And the most frequent culprits: deer mice, 14 detections, and house mice, 82 detections.
82 detections in house mice alone.
These little guys often get overlooked in biosecurity plans, but those numbers suggest they play a much bigger, much more dangerous role than we thought.
And this really raises an important question. Why do these small mammals, especially mice, matter so much here?
Yeah, why?
The bovine article is blunt. These animals don't respect your biosecurity protocols.
No kidding.
Unlike cows or people who might follow rules, mice move freely between operations, potentially carrying the virus from farm to farm without permits, health certificates, or your permission.
Silent, unchecked spreaders.
Exactly. Bypassing all your carefully built checkpoints, it just underscores how permeable our farm boundaries really are and the urgent need for environmental controls that go beyond the fence line to manage these mobile virus carriers.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because for any dairy, the economic side is always tough, maybe the toughest reality.
Always comes down to the dollars and cents.
The bovine article digs deep into the economic reality, what the industry won't tell you. What are the direct production losses? How hard do they hit?
The figures in the bovine article are stark, really concerning. On direct production losses that devastate operations. It says, on average, clinical disease hits about 20% of cows in studied herds, 1 in 5.
Okay.
And for those sick cows, milk loss averages 900 kilograms per cow over a 60-day post-outbreak period.
900 kilos.
Yeah.
That's almost 2,000 pounds. Over 230 gallons lost per cow.
In 2 months.
Yeah, significant loss. And it's not uniform across the country either. The article gives regional data. Michigan and Idaho saw about a 1.8% milk production decrease overall.
Yeah.
Texas, more pronounced, 3.8% decrease. But California, huge dairy state, hit even harder. 7.9% and 6.7% decreases in November and December 2024, respectively.
Wow, nearly 8% drop in November.
These aren't just percentages. They're tangible multi-million-dollar hits to the bottom line. Underscores the immediate devastating urgency for producers everywhere. And beyond those obvious production losses, the bovine article exposes the hidden costs of industry failures. It offers this critical cost reality analysis, really highlights the ROI, the return on investment, of preventing this stuff now.
Shows that prevention pays. Big time.
Let's break down these numbers. They're compelling.
Yeah.
Production losses. $950 per affected cow. We heard that.
Right.
Compare that to proactive prevention. $200, $400 per cow. The article says that prevention investment delivers a 240% ROI within 6-12 months.
Money back in your pocket, fast.
Then quarantine losses.
Yeah.
That crippling $2.1 million per 1,000 cows potentially, versus maybe $1,500K for biosecurity upgrades.
That's an immediate ROI, the article says. You avoid the catastrophe.
Makes sense. And finally, culling could hit 40% of affected cows. Devastating. But investing in enhanced monitoring systems for early detection, ROI within 12-18 months by saving calves.
The numbers don't lie. Investing in solid, evidence-based prevention isn't just good practice.
It's smart business.
Undeniably smart business, strategic move for long-term survival. Unfortunately, though, this whole crisis got way worse because of what the bovine article calls the reporting crisis.
Back to the underreporting.
Yeah. Based on documented talks with vets, the article says, flat out, cattle with clinical signs suggestive of disease have not been consistently reported to state and federal animal health authorities.
Whether it's fear, uncertainty, lack of guidance.
Whatever the reason, this widespread underreporting is a massive barrier to understanding it, containing it.
It creates blind spots.
Huge blind spots. Masks the true scope, prevents timely responses from regulators, researchers, the industry itself, lets the virus spread unchecked, cripples our collective ability to fight back.
So, after laying out all these sobering realities, the deep challenges, this is where the bovine article pivots.
From problem to solution.
Right, to practical, actionable, science-based solutions that actually work. This is the nuts and bolts part. And given the parlor is ground zero, let's start there. Re-engineering milking parlor protocols.
Okay, the bovine article gives super clear prescriptive guidance here on re-engineering milking parlor protocols.
Good. What's the plan?
It rates implementation as medium difficulty. Timeline, 2 to 4 weeks. So doable, and importantly, high ROI.
High return. Okay.
It emphasizes non-negotiable actions, critical stuff. First, absolute milking order. Clinical animals milked last, no exception.
Always. Got it.
Develop a clear system. Identify, segregate, milk them dead last. Prevent spread to the healthy ones. Second, enhance disinfection.
Okay.
And that means verify your products work specifically against influenza viruses, not just general bugs. Might need stronger virucidal agents, longer contact time, on everything.
Got it. Specific products.
Third, dedicated worker protocols. Requires complete PPE changes between groups of cows or between shifts. Not just gloves, coveralls, boots, eyewear, changed regularly. Prevent mechanically carrying the virus.
So, concrete steps, addressing that primary transmission route.
Directly addressing it, based on the research.
Okay. Beyond the parlor itself, the article calls for enhanced environmental controls based on research. What does that mean for farms trying to block outside threats, especially those wildlife vectors?
Right, enhanced environmental controls. The article rates these as high difficulty to implement, often bigger changes involved.
Takes more effort.
Yeah, timeline. 4-12 weeks, but still offers a compelling medium-high ROI because they prevent disease introduction long-term.
Makes sense. What are the targets?
3 strategic target areas. First, bird control. Focus specifically on European starlings, house sparrows, rock pigeons. Since they're not protected by the Migratory Bird Treaty Act.
You be more aggressive.
Right. Netting, exclusion devices, professional trapping, more options. Second, rodent management, critical. Recommends professional systems targeting house mice and deer mice.
More than just a few traps.
Comprehensive, ongoing pest control. Eliminate these documented vectors moving between farms. Third, feed storage security. Use physical barriers to limit wildlife access.
Secure lids on bins, enclose commodity bays.
Maybe rethink open silage piles where birds and rodents can easily get in and contaminate feed. And what's really interesting here, a specific research finding noted, cooperative agreements between dairy operators and wildlife management agencies could significantly reduce bird-related damage and cow exposure to pathogens.
So, working together with wildlife experts.
Emphasizes a collaborative community approach to managing this widespread threat from wildlife.
Okay, moving back to the people again. Worker protection that gets results, as the Bullvine article puts it. We talked about the problems. What does effective, science-backed protection look like?
Right. Worker protection that gets results. Implementation. Medium difficulty. Timeline. 2-6 weeks. So fairly quick. ROI. Critically high.
High return again. Good.
But
what's required?
Several evidence-based requirements. Goes beyond just basic PPE. First, complete PPE. Non-negotiable. That means not just N95s, but waterproof gloves, safety goggles for the eyes, fluid-resistant coveralls, rubber boots you can disinfect or change.
The whole kit. Protect all routes.
Exactly. Second, rigorous health monitoring. Daily screening for those documented symptom patterns. Quick checks may be digital for conjunctivitis, fever, respiratory issues we talked about.
Catch things early.
Third, and maybe most crucial given the underreporting issue, no-fault reporting policies. Policies that actively encourage early reporting without fear of consequences.
Those workers know they won't lose their job or face immigration issues for reporting illness.
Builds that essential trust. Ensures potential human cases get identified early. Protects the worker. Protects the whole farm.
The Bullvine article also mentioned regional implementation considerations, right? Not all farms are the same. Climate matters.
It does raise an important question about geography, how climate affects virus persistence, outbreaks. The article details climate-specific risk factors. Virus survival varies. Temperate regions like Wisconsin, Minnesota, cool, dry conditions actually enhance survival on surfaces in the environment.
Lasts longer when it's cool and dry.
Seems so. In contrast, warmer climates, California, Texas, humid, rainy conditions are more prone to favoring larger, faster outbreaks.
Interesting. Different risks.
But across all regions, there's a universal truth. Hard surfaces maintain virus viability for a significant 24-48 hours, regardless of temperature.
So no matter where you are.
Rigorous, frequent surface disinfection is essential, everywhere. You just adapt your specific approach to your local conditions.
And finally, it's important people know what help is out there. Available government support, highlighted in the Bullvine article. Producers aren't totally alone in this.
That's a really significant piece of good news in the article. The USDA stepped up, implemented programs distributing $1.46 billion to poultry and dairy producers in January 2025.
$1.5 billion.
Serious support. And it includes several key programs helping directly, like 70% compensation for affected cows' market value. Huge help for animal losses.
Take some sting out.
Also includes free PPE for dairy workers. Directly addresses those compliance issues. No cost testing through approved laboratories. Removes a big financial barrier to detection, surveillance.
Makes testing easier.
And veterinary cost reimbursement. Helps offset those vet bills during an outbreak. It's a substantial, crucial resource available for producers dealing with the fallout.
Okay. So after absorbing all this detailed science-backed info, what does it mean for your operation looking forward?
Where the rubber meets the road.
Exactly. The Bovine article wraps up with this really tangible, phased approach. Implementation roadmap, your 90-day action plan. Not just a checklist, it's a strategic guide to build real resilience. Let's walk through it. Concrete steps, starting now.
Okay, this 90-day plan from the Bovine article, it is incredibly detailed, designed to get you from emergency response to long-term strength. Days 130, emergency response, foundational stuff, right away.
First month, go.
Week 1 to 2. Conduct a comprehensive risk assessment using a research framework, not just a quick look. Systematically check your whole farm against every documented transmission path parlor, wildlife, people. Look for worker protection gaps, environmental risks.
Block out serious time for this.
Yeah, half a day maybe with your team. Don't miss anything critical the research revealed. At the same time, implement strict milking order protocols. Clinicals last, always. Establish daily worker health screenings for those specific symptoms. Upgrade teat disinfection with virucidal products.
Easy first 2 weeks.
Then week 3-4. Install PPE stations at parlor entrances. Make access easy. Begin enhanced environmental cleaning beyond routine. Hit those high-touch spots. Contact professional pest control for birds and rodents. And review insurance coverage for outbreaks. Know where you stand financially.
Okay, that's the first 30 days. Emergency response, what's next?
Days 3160, system enhancement. Building on that foundation, deeper, more systematic changes. Implement comprehensive bird and rodent control programs. Beyond basic traps, maybe netting, aggressive management for those unprotected species.
Get serious about pests.
Establish no-fault illness reporting policies. Not just write them down, communicate them. Make sure workers trust they can report without fear. Partner with local healthcare providers for worker testing, care pathways, maybe even on-farm visits.
Strengthen those external links.
And upgrade monitoring systems for early detection. Could be automated milk analysis, more frequent targeted testing for subclinical spreaders. Reinforce the new foundations.
Got it. So days 130, emergency, days 3160, enhanced systems. What about the last phase?
Days 6190, long-term resilience. Future-proofing, building external relationships, prepping for new tech, develop relationships with local dairy disease preparedness groups, vet networks, collaborate, share learning, plan responses together.
Community resilient.
Plan vaccination infrastructure for future implementation. Think refrigeration, protocols, training, even if a vaccine isn't here yet. Be ready. Critically, evaluate and refine biosecurity protocols based on results. This is ongoing, data-driven improvement. Learn from your own farm.
Continuous improvement cycle.
And finally, establish ongoing surveillance and monitoring systems. Keep tracking herd health, environmental signs, worker well-being, move from reacting to proactively managing.
That's a solid 90-day plan. Covers a lot.
Very comprehensive.
The Bovine article also gives us these critical self-assessment questions to help you, the producer, check your own operation against these new criteria. Not rhetorical, right? Meant to make you really think.
Definitely prompts for deep reflection.
First, transmission control. Are your milking protocols truly designed for viral transmission prevention, not just bacterial mastitis? Big mindset shift.
Fundamental.
Second, worker safety. Do your workers feel genuinely safe reporting illness without fear of immigration consequences or job loss? Hits that trust issue hard.
Crucial question.
Third, environmental management. Is your feed storage system inadvertently attracting the exact wildlife species documented as H5N1 vectors? Are your efficiencies creating vulnerabilities?
Unintended consequences again.
Fourth, detection capability. Can your monitoring systems actually identify subclinical infections before they spread silently? Can you see the invisible threat?
Key for stopping silent spread.
And finally, financial preparedness. Have you calculated the true cost of implementing these evidence-based protocols against those potential losses, $950 per cow, plus the huge quarantine risks?
Putting the prevention cost in perspective.
These are vital questions for your farm's immediate future, long-term viability.
Absolutely. And the Bovine article's bottom line message, it's crystal clear, direct. Stop waiting for someone else to save you.
Take ownership.
Completely. It makes it plain. The difference between farms that navigate this successfully and those that suffer huge losses. It comes down to preparation based on scientific evidence, rapid response protocols, and consistently evidence-based decision-making.
Science, speed, evidence.
The article emphasizes you are the ultimate decision-maker for your farm's resilience. Relying on old habits or waiting for a magic bullet. Just not an option anymore.
And this crisis, it's also exposed some harsh truths about industry leadership, hasn't it? According to the Bullvine article.
It has. It reveals what it calls fundamental failures in industry preparedness and regulatory coordination.
Failures in preparedness and coordination.
The article bluntly repeats that damning conclusion. The United States has failed in this dress rehearsal for pandemic preparedness. And like we discussed, the first critical failure. A failure of dairy producers to report disease, often fueled by those regulatory fears.
Points to systemic issues. Needs fixing at multiple levels. Farm level, organization level.
And to be even more specific, the Bullvine article points to several critical failures in the broader industry response.
Like what?
It notes regulatory authorities elevated producer fears instead of encouraging transparency. Big misstep. Created the underreporting. It explicitly says, enhanced biosecurity practices failed to prevent disease introduction, validating that biosecurity myth from the start.
So the old ways didn't work.
And it concludes worker protection protocols were inadequately implemented across the industry, leaving that tragic vulnerability for workers. These aren't small things. They're foundational issues that compounded the crisis, underscore the urgent need for a unified, proactive, transparent industry response moving forward.
Okay, so let's summarize what the research definitively establishes, what you really need to take away from this deep dive into the Bullvine article.
The key takeaways.
First, game changer. H5N1 spreads primarily through milking procedures, not respiratory routes. Reorients everything.
Focus on the parlor.
Second, traditional biosecurity approaches designed for bacterial pathogens are simply insufficient for this virus. Need a new playbook.
Old rules don't apply.
Third, worker protection requires comprehensive PPE and no-fault reporting systems, both for human safety and accurate tracking.
Protect people, get good data.
And finally, environmental controls must target specific wildlife vectors identified in the research. Those uninvited guests are critical players. Manage them actively.
Birds and rodents matter a lot. And for your quick reference to guide your next steps, the Bullvine article provides a concise implementation priority summary.
Okay, quick guide.
For immediate actions like this week. Risk assessment. Make those milking protocol changes. Establish worker health screening now.
Top priority.
In the short term, next 30 days. Prioritize enhanced biosecurity infrastructure updates, roll out full worker protection programs, put those environmental controls in place diligently.
Build the defense.
And for the long term, 90+ days, look at technology integration for monitoring, do thorough vaccination planning for the future, and foster strong regional collaboration with neighbors, industry groups.
Plan for the future. Work together. So, what is your immediate next step? Right now, according to the Bullvine article,
The very next thing you should do.
it urges you, producer, to conduct a comprehensive H5N1 risk assessment within the next 2 weeks using this research framework.
Not a suggestion, a directive.
Block out at least 4 dedicated hours. With your management team, systematically evaluate your facilities against those documented transmission paths. Check worker protection gaps, assess wildlife risks. Don't delay this. It's the foundation for everything else.
Do that assessment now.
Yeah.
And this outbreak, it's also really highlighted the industry accountability challenge.
Accountability.
The Bullvine article documents that this crisis revealed clear barriers to implementing a crucial One Health approach.
The idea that human, animal, environmental health are all linked.
Exactly. Need to manage them together. The article stresses the urgent need for much greater collaboration of multiple stakeholders, producers, vets, regulators, researchers. Collaboration, it argues, has been noticeably lacking.
Not just individual farms. Industry-wide effort.
Needs a new level of integrated responsibility from the whole industry.
Which leads to a crucial call for industry action from the Bullvine article, empowering you, the producer, to drive change.
Your voice matters.
It urges you. Demand accountability from industry associations that failed to prepare members for this crisis. Push for better, proactive guidance. Support mandatory reporting requirements for transparency, accurate data,
Essential for control.
and advocate for comprehensive worker protection policies that address immigration status fears. Make sure everyone on your farm is safe, valued, able to report without fear. This is about shaping our industry's future, not just reacting.
Be part of the solution.
Yeah.
Look, the harsh reality, as the Bullvine article concludes, is that the dairy industry is entering an era where disease challenges require the same strategic planning you applied to genetics, nutrition, and reproduction.
Can't be an afterthought anymore.
Not at all. The operations that will truly thrive now, they'll be the ones that see H5N1 not just as a threat, but as a catalyst for building better, more resilient systems informed by scientific evidence rather than outdated industry assumptions.
Adapt, learn, lead with knowledge.
Turn crisis into an opportunity for real, lasting improvement.
So, yeah, H5N1 is a profound wake-up call, shaking the foundations. But as this deep dive into the critical Bullvine article has shown, the science-backed solutions, they're clearly outlined.
A roadmap is there.
Provides a path forward, a comprehensive roadmap, not just to survive, but to truly thrive. Build a more resilient operation in this new era.
Absolutely. From fundamentally reevaluating your parlor routines, understanding those new transmission paths, to proactively protecting your invaluable workforce, strategically managing wildlife crossing your boundaries, the proactive, evidence-based steps aren't just nice ideas, they're critical.
Be to be done.
These insights are designed to arm you with specific, actionable knowledge to make immediate, lasting changes.
Okay, so your farm's future really depends on implementing these research-backed strategies now.
The time is now.
The tools, the knowledge, the strategies exist to protect your operation from these devastating costs, economic and human. The question now, for each of you listening, how will you leverage this vital science, these direct insights, not just to protect your herd and people, but to fundamentally redefine what a truly resilient dairy operation looks like in this challenging, but also transformative new era?
A powerful question.
We really encourage you. Use the information from the Bullvine article as your immediate guide. Inform your next steps. Continue that journey toward a stronger, more prepared, truly resilient operation.
The evidence is undeniable. Traditional biosecurity approaches have failed spectacularly against H5N1, and it's costing our industry $950 per affected cow while putting workers at serious risk. But here's the thing. The operations that survive and thrive through this crisis will be those that abandon failed conventional approaches and implement the evidence-based protocols we've outlined today. Your immediate next step? Conduct a comprehensive H5N1 risk assessment within the next 2 weeks. Block out 4 hours with your management team to systematically evaluate your facilities against the documented transmission pathways and worker protection gaps we've discussed. Remember, H5N1 spreads primarily through milking procedures, not respiratory routes. Your milking parlor isn't just where you harvest milk, it's where pathogens propagate if you don't have the right protocols in place. For the complete 90-day implementation roadmap, detailed cost-benefit analysis, and all the research-backed strategies we've covered today, head to www.thebullvine.com. You'll find the full article, The Biosecurity Myth, Journal of Dairy Science reveals why enhanced protocols failed against H5N1, along with downloadable action plans and assessment tools. Don't wait for the next regulatory failure or industry leadership vacuum. Your farm's future depends on implementing research-backed strategies now. The tools, knowledge, and strategies exist to protect your operation. Start your evidence-based H5N1 risk assessment this week. This has been the Bullvine Podcast, challenging conventional wisdom, delivering practical solutions, and keeping the dairy industry's most progressive operations ahead of the curve. Until next time, keep questioning, keep improving, and keep thriving.